Hello, this is Parmjit Singh. Thank you very much for stopping by to the Passing Clouds coaching, thoughts, ideas, and meanderings. It is oftenly said that executive success, the ability of an executive to do well for herself, himself, as well as the organization he or she is heading, is very much dependent upon self awareness. But and it's pretty much very popular. It's part of the popular narrative. You can read many things in the newspapers, magazines, even scientific magazine. Self-awareness is a thing these days in a business environment. But question can be asked, what exactly is self-awareness? Is there a different kind of self-awareness? And does it mean that executives who do not have a self-awareness or who are not successful in the terms whatever that success means, they don't have self-awareness? Or could it be argued that self-awareness is in itself is very hard to define? It depends upon the cultural conditions, parameters, and the way we think of self-awareness, and to the level our culture permits us to conceptualize the idea of awareness. What about if we get stuck at a cognitive awareness? What about if the awareness only extend to certain metacognitive aspect and have no room for expansion or description beyond that? So all those questions can be asked, and once you start asking those questions, you begin to see why this whole idea of self-awareness can be very tricky to conceptualize. What does it mean that in order for an executive to be successful, he or she has to have an appropriate form of self-awareness? Now, we can argue for that, and there are many people who may argue against what I'm going to say. But one of the things I think what makes anybody successful, let alone just being executive in a given role, is developing a awareness which is non-narcissistic, which is non-self-oriented. Even though self-awareness is very self-oriented, but here my invitation is that self can be selfish, self can be also selfless, because you will notice that as you move through the life, as your concept of self begin to expand, your idea of selfishness begin to change itself. So if you are alone and you are single and then you fall in love and romantically become inclined, you will notice that your idea of self will expand to include the person who erstwhile was your stranger to you. Now he or she has become part of yourself. And similarly, that happens in families and so on. The circle continues. So very much the idea of self-awareness and to what extent the way we conceptualize self is very much dependent upon how you conceptualize self and what are the boundaries set by your own definition. So coming back to the point of what kind of awareness a executive should need or would need to succeed at the responsibility she or he has been assigned. And I think the most reasonable argument is that self-awareness has to be reasonably non-narcissistic, which means it has to be related to his or her perception of who or she or he is, but more so her relationship with her peers and subordinates and all the folks she is working for, including the bottom line, has to have a ring of non-narcissism. Otherwise, leadership qualities have the risk of falling or sliding into narcissistic tendencies, because it's so easier when you are in a powerful position, you begin to exercise power as a way of reaching the success you have visualized for yourself as well as the company that has hired you on for the role. So the idea that self-awareness is very essential for executive success, both conceptually and technically, sounds to be very correct one. However, with a proviso, with a caveat that self-awareness has to have a ring of non-narcissism, because if that self-awareness is very selfishly oriented, it is going to do exactly the opposite what it will do if it is non-selfishly oriented. Now, you may say that everybody has to have a selfishness, and that's very true. We all have to take care of the things we are supposed to take care of, and that's part of the self and behavior and the self assets. But it all also depends upon the way you conceptualize self. If self is selfish and conceptualized and is bounded, then your idea of self is going to be very different. However, if self is expansive and boundless and include other people who even may not be related to you, then the self is going to be very different. So on that note, I invite you to think about this idea of self-awareness and its role in executive success slightly in a nuanced way. You may not agree with me, and that's absolutely fine. And if you do have an idea which runs counter to this, please do take a moment to actually spell it out in the comment section, and I would love to be part of the conversation. But I leave you with a question, that to what extent and what kind self-awareness is necessary for the success in the role you have been assigned, whether it is executive or non-executive. I think in the long scheme of things, that's a less important question than the main question, that what sort of self-awareness do we need to succeed and prosper and blossom and flourish in life. That's it for today. Thank you very much for stopping by. If you have any thought, please take a moment to leave it in the comments. If you like this kind of content, please drop a like, subscribe to our channel, or give suggestions about the topics you would like me to cover. And thank you once again, and I will see you next time. Bye bye for now.
Please subscribe to the channel, like and share. Thank you.